All right, welcome everyone to The Deep Dive. Today we're going to be tackling something pretty fascinating, sexual desire. And we're going way beyond just the biology.
Right.
We're diving deep into the psychology, the emotions, all that fun stuff, the cultural influences even.
Absolutely.
That make this whole experience so interesting.
It's a deep dive.
It is a deep dive. Get ready for some serious eye-openers because we're about to uncover how much our brains really run the show. How men and women's desire is more shaped by society than we might think.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And how keeping that spark alive is less about those big romantic gestures and more about,
The little things.
the little things, the day-to-day connection.
To guide us through all of this, we have an expert here with us today who can shed some light on all these complexities of desire. Thanks for joining us.
I'm happy to be here. It's a topic that's often kind of shrouded in mystery,
Yeah.
misunderstanding.
Le taboo.
So I'm really excited to kind of jump into this
Can break it open.
and unpack it all. Perfect.
Yeah.
So let's start right at the very beginning.
Oh.
What is it that really drives desire? Where does this all even begin?
So it's not as simple as saying, it's just this one thing, It's really kind of a recipe. And it's got psychological ingredients and emotional ingredients and biological ingredients.
I like that.
All mixed in. You've got your hormones, testosterone, estrogen, even these chemical signals called pheromones.
Pheromones, right. Those are the ones that they kind of work like a secret attraction signal.
Yeah.
Like we can't actually smell them.
Exactly. Yeah. They're under the radar. We're not really aware of them. But studies show they actually can influence who we're attracted to. It's pretty fascinating how our bodies are sending these signals and receiving these signals all the time without us even knowing.
It's wild. So there's this whole hidden world of attraction happening underneath the surface.
Yeah.
You mentioned, though, that our brains are kind of the real stars in the show here.
Yes.
What role does the brain play in all this?
You can kind of think of your brain like the main control center for desire. It takes in all those biological signals, hormones and pheromones, but then it filters them through your experiences, right? Your emotions, your beliefs about things, even your cultural upbringing. So it's like this really powerful lens that shapes how we each see and experience attraction.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not as simple as just being like, oh, physically I'm attracted to that person. End of story, right? Our minds are actively involved in creating that experience.
Absolutely, yeah. You could be totally physically attracted to somebody, but if their personality is just a total clash with yours,
right,
that initial spark is probably going to fizzle out pretty quick. The brain is always making these complicated calculations, weighing different things to decide, how much desire you actually feel.
This is really interesting. So we've got the biological urges.
Yeah.
The emotions swirling around.
Yeah.
The societal influences.
Right.
How does this all play out when we look at the differences, at least the perceived differences, between how men and women experience desire? Is it really all down to just biology? Or is there more to it?
I think while there are some biological differences, societal norms and our individual experiences play a way bigger role than we often talk about, I think. From when we're kids, we get all these messages about how men and women are supposed to think and feel and behave sexually. And this creates these really different expectations and experiences for everybody, which then just reinforces those perceived differences.
So we're almost trained to experience desire in a very specific way, even if it doesn't really reflect who we are.
Exactly. And that's why I think it's so important to challenge those old narratives and recognize the huge diversity of desires that are out there. In the LGBTQ plus community, there is no one-size-fits-all model for desire.
Right. Everyone's different.
And we should celebrate that.
Absolutely. Speaking of celebrating, let's talk about relationships.
Okay.
How do intimacy and desire, these two powerful forces, how do they intertwine? How do they influence each other? Especially when we're talking about long-term couples.
It's really a fascinating, kind of dance back and forth. And it really varies from one couple to the next. For some people, a deep emotional connection is what fuels their desire. For others, the excitement of that physical attraction is what deepens that emotional bond. So it's constantly kind of like a back and forth. The key is just finding what works for both people.
Finding that balance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So how can couples nurture both the intimacy and the desire. Is there a secret formula?
There's no magic formula, unfortunately, but
I think open communication is huge.
Okay.
Feeling safe to talk to your partner about what you need, what you desire, without judgment. I think that really builds intimacy. And never underestimate the power of trying new things together.
Keeping things fresh and exciting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as like trying a new restaurant, exploring a new hobby together, or just kind of stepping outside your comfort zone a little in the bedroom.
Okay.
New things can really keep that spark alive.
It's true. But let's be real, desire naturally. Kind of.
It ebbs and flows.
Yeah, it ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Especially in long-term relationships. So is there anything couples can do to ride those waves a little better? Keep that flame burning strong.
Absolutely. First of all, it's so important to remember those fluctuations are totally normal.
Okay.
You don't have to panic.
Yeah,
when you notice things have dipped a little bit, talking about it openly can really reduce that anxiety and create space to reconnect.
Yeah. Sometimes just acknowledging it out loud can be such a relief for both people.
You get the pressure off.
Yeah, exactly. And I think beyond communication, sometimes it's about rediscovering those things that you were passionate about together way back when.
Okay.
If you used to love hiking, get back out there. If you used to have those amazing conversations late into the night, make time for that again. Sometimes it's really just about getting back to basics.
That makes sense. It's about rekindling that flame by remembering what got it going in the first place. But, I think there's another piece to this puzzle that we often overlook. That's our overall well-being. How much does our physical and mental health really affect our desire?
It plays a really huge role. Just think about it. When you're feeling super stressed or exhausted, intimacy is probably the last thing
Yeah, not really thinking.
on your mind, right? And actually, chronic stress can mess with your hormones, leading to lower libido. Studies actually show that. Managing stress through things like mindfulness, exercise therapy can actually significantly improve your desire.
So self-care isn't just bubble baths and face masks. It's about our sexual wellness too.
Exactly. And it's not just stress. It's things like anxiety and depression, certain lifestyle choices like not sleeping enough, not getting enough exercise. These can all affect your libido, and addressing those things can make a huge difference.
It's about really looking at the whole picture.
Yes.
Not just focusing on one little symptom.
Right.
But we can't talk about desire without also addressing kind of the elephant in the room here.
Yeah.
Which is the digital age. Dating apps, social media.
Yeah.
It's a whole new world out there. It's definitely affecting
For sure.
how we view desire and how we view relationships.
It really is. It's undeniable. On one hand, I think technology has opened up these amazing opportunities to connect with people. I mean, you can meet people from all different walks of life, explore all these different relationship styles. You can find communities that share your interests. But the downside,
There's always downside.
is it can also create these really unrealistic expectations. A focus on just superficial things.
Yeah.
This fear of missing out.
Right.
It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah. We have all this choice, but then it leads to being paralyzed by the choices or constantly comparing ourselves to what we're seeing online. So how do we navigate this whole digital landscape in a way that actually helps our relationships and doesn't hurt them?
I think the key is to be really aware of how these platforms are affecting how you see yourself, how you see the world. Are you constantly comparing yourself to other people? Are you just looking for validation from likes and swipes? You have to remember to prioritize that genuine connection over that fleeting digital attention. Real intimacy is built on, sharing experiences together, being vulnerable, emotional depth.
I love that. And that brings us to what I think is truly the most important element here, and that's communication.
Yeah.
So many people have a hard time talking about sex openly and honestly, even with their partners. How can we get past that? How can we create a space where we can have these healthy and fulfilling conversations about desire?
I think you got to start by realizing that it's a skill.
Okay.
And it takes practice. You don't just become a master communicator overnight.
Yeah.
Start small. Share an article you read that you thought was interesting, or talk about a movie scene that sparked something for you.
Yeah.
Create a space where there's no judgment, where both of you can feel comfortable expressing what you need, what you desire, even your fantasies.
So it's about creating that foundation of trust.
Yeah, exactly. So that desire can really flourish.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a really eye-opening conversation. I think the biggest takeaway for me has been realizing just how much goes into desire.
Absolutely.
And how interconnected it is with our overall well-being.
Yeah.
We can't separate the physical, the mental, the emotional when it comes to experiencing desire.
It's all connected.
It's all part of the same tapestry.
What I find so interesting is how much our culture, the messages we get from society, really affect our understanding of desire. I mean, it's something we don't often think about,
right?
But it's really worth thinking about how those influences might be shaping our own experiences.
And that is a great point.
Yeah.
To leave our listeners with today.
Yeah.
As you continue to explore this fascinating part of being human, take some time to really consider, how have those cultural messages or societal norms affected your own understanding of sexual desire? It's an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
And it deserves our curiosity and attention.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.